My guest and I are talking today about beating diabetes. I've got Christopher Reade with me. You're going to absolutely love this conversation that we have. And you are going to get a very clear takeaway on something you can do to beat diabetes if it's something that's affected you and your family, or if high blood sugar is already beginning to take its toll on you. Maybe you've had some less than positive results at your last checkup. This information is going to help you so very much. And if you've been around here for a little while, you know that this is a topic that is near and dear to my heart. It is not one that I want to just gloss over. You may be very well aware that just a short time ago, I lost my mom to pancreatic cancer after her battle with diabetes. So, this one, I believe, is such an important topic to cover. And the key takeaway that we are going to discuss today is so actionable, so simple, and something that can make a huge difference in your life, as it did for my guest, Chris Reade. He is an entrepreneur, a technologist, and he is the author of the book Beating Diabetes: How a Botched Insurance Renewal Saved My Life. He's going to tell us the story of how that took place after a serious scare with diabetes. He then refused to accept it as a life sentence and took control, dug in, did tons of research, read the studies, and he reversed it. And he's now sharing his knowledge with us, not just in his book, Beating Diabetes, but also here on the Begin Within Health show in this interview. Please enjoy my conversation with Chris Reade.
I was 46 years old. I had a little girl, and it was of all things that you wouldn't expect. I had a life insurance screw up where my agent didn't renew my policy because he switched companies. And so within the same 12-month period, I had to do the blood test stuff that they do for life insurance
Okay.
twice.
Yeah.
So the first one, which was the year before in 2016, everything was totally normal, totally fine. I mean, slightly high triglycerides, stuff like that. Nothing that would a 46-year-old should be worried about. So then cut about 12 months later, and not only is my A1C, which is the average amount of glucose in your blood, it's kind of the big marker that doctors use to figure out where people are at in terms of sugar. So normal would be anything less than 5.7 on a scale. And high starts at like, 6.2, 6.3, 6.4, somewhere around there. I was at 9.1 in under a year. And if you Google that up, like I did, of course, being a techie, I discovered that was what they call rapid onset type 2 diabetes. And one of its causes is potentially pancreatic cancer, which scared me. So I went and did an MRI, and it didn't have pancreatic cancer, thank God, because I wouldn't be
Yeah.
talking to you.
Yeah.
But that got me, I went to the doctor and like most guys in middle age and younger, I went to the doctor maybe once a year. It wasn't like big part of my life. I was healthy. I play sports. I wasn't really thinking about any of those things. And then suddenly, I go to the doctor after this test. And she's like, "Oh, that's great. Well, here's a prescription for metformin. If that doesn't do it, we'll get you some insulin." And I'm like, "Whoa, wait,
Have a
what?"
nice life. Yeah.
She's like, "Yeah, this is a incurable progressive disease. You're gonna have this the rest of your life, and it's only gonna get worse." Was like, what?
Yeah.
I mean, I would just say, I walked out of there in a daze, and like I said, I did a bunch of Googling and started doing some real research and really started reading up. And because I was just determined, man, I was not gonna shoot myself up daily. I wasn't gonna take a bunch of drugs. I wasn't gonna live with this forever, and I just found it impossible to believe that was the only answer.
Mhm.
And it isn't the only answer. And we've known that for a very long time. That's not new info.
Yeah.
Most of the studies in my book are from the 70s, 80s, and 90s. I mean, this is well trodden ground. You got longitudinal studies going 20 years um, that show a couple of things that I used. Um, the first is if you lose 10% of your body weight, more or less, there's a reasonable chance, call it 60, 70% chance that you will stop being diabetic, basically.
Okay.
The question is why that is, which we can talk about. But in my case, losing 10% of my body weight was the easy part of it. Getting my pancreas to do its job again really was a little bit harder.
Yeah.
And I discovered the power of what is called soluble fiber.
Hmm.
Soluble fiber is what you see in oatmeal and broccoli and Brussels sprouts and chickpeas and all sorts of stuff, beans of every description,
Whole
right?
foods. Yeah.
And what I do, basically, what I've been doing since 2017 is um, I load up on a lot of soluble fiber at every meal. And as a result, my sugars never spike, and my A1C has never been over 5.7 since the first reading in 2017.
Wow.
And I corrected that first reading from 9.1 down to 5.7 in under 6 months.
Wow.
Um, I
So you
do
had like
not
a rapid remission.
rapid decrease. I went rapid up and then rapid down, right? And but a lot of it really, and I think this is the reason that I felt it was important to write all this down.
Yeah.
I am not Mr. Discipline. That is not who this kid is, right? I am a very, very, very fallible, easy to tempt human being. Anybody who knows me knows that about me.
Okay.
And so I had to have something like I have buddies of mine who do this, who had similar either blood sugar problems or cholesterol problems or whatever, and do like very extreme sort of diets, like, super paleo or something like that,
Yeah.
or vegan diets. And I just knew I couldn't hack it. Like I knew I would not do that for the next 40 years.
Yeah.
And so I needed to find a way that an average schmuck like me, who doesn't have a lot of discipline, could make diabetes go out of his life without having to, go through a whole lot to make it work, because I knew I just didn't have it in me to do that. And it turns out, now, I mean, like I said, it's many years later, it's 8 years, 9 years, and I don't really consider, like, I don't call it a diet because I don't consider the way I live to be particularly special or hard.
Hmm.
And I do a lot on Instagram where I go to restaurants and I look at the menu and I show people like, here's what I eat on this menu, sort of
Yeah.
thing, just so they can kind of get it in their heads, because I'm a practical person and you got to be able to
Yeah.
do it.
Absolutely. Yeah. We're all about action steps. Regular people. That's us.
Regular people. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not a superstar. I'm not, I'm not gonna, sit there and be like, take the pain, you can do it. I'm not that guy.
I'm
I
not
am,
either.
but again, it takes a certain amount of discipline. And, it's not to make it sound super like, oh man, it's just a snap. It's no problem. The first 6 months knocking sugar out of your life sucks. It does. It's not fun.
Mhm.
But, now, like I used to drink my regular, if we were going out or whatever, I'd have bourbon and ginger ale. I changed that. If I go out, I'll have bourbon and club soda, right? Much less sugar, because
Okay.
ginger ale is basically mainlining sugar. Um, if you give me a bourbon and ginger ale now, I can't drink it. It's
Mm.
so mucky and heavy, and it's just gross.
Yeah.
And I used to suck those things down. There's no problem. And I'm just like, wow. Same with sugar in my coffee. Like in the morning, I'll put sugar in my coffee, but if I do, I know instantly. Like if somebody screws up my order at Starbucks or whatever, and they put sugar in my coffee, I'm like, that's not right. And it's because it doesn't taste good anymore. But that once you get past that stuff, which really isn't that hard, because I'm not knocking all carbs out of my life, it is not as hard. Like I tried the Atkins diet back in the 90s, and I stuck with it for like 3 weeks and then I gave up because I just couldn't do it. But this doesn't feel like that because the basics of it are pretty simple, right?
Yeah.
So if I'm sitting down well, actually the lunch I just had.
Yeah, let's
Um,
do it.
so lunch was leftover what's that the autumn squash, the string squash, right? The kind of the
Acorn?
stringy. Yeah, it's like yellow and stringy. It's
Acorn squash?
delicious. Yeah, yeah. It's a yellow squash, but it's like
Yeah.
that special spaghetti squash. Is that what you
Yep,
said?
could be
Yep.
spaghetti squash. Yeah.
Spaghetti squash, some broccoli, a little bit of chicken. Um, I mean, that's tons of soluble fiber right out the gate,
Yeah.
between the broccoli and the squash, and then the chicken doesn't have any sugar in it. So the whole meal, which was delicious, and the reason the soluble fiber is so good is you feel full. And the Atkins diet, I always felt hungry. I never got to that place they
Yeah.
swear that you could get to where like you don't feel hungry anymore for carbs. I am never got there.
Not you. Okay.
Not me. But you can get the same sort of outcomes with the soluble fiber methods that I use, and they're a lot more friendly to being able to go out to a restaurant and not have to have special meals or any of that kind of stuff. I
Yeah.
literally, if it's not McDonald's, there's pretty much no restaurant I can't eat at, and find soluble fiber.
Okay. Yeah. So could you and I love the practical, like kind of like just we're more interested in tell us what to do here. But could you speak a little bit to what the deal with the fiber is? Soluble
Sure.
fiber. Like what why is that
Right.
such a
So
great
two types of fiber, right? You've
yeah.
got insoluble fiber, whole wheat and stuff like whole wheat, right? Your whole brands and stuff like that. Great for your digestion. Doesn't do squat for your sugar. Just won't do
Okay.
anything. And then the reason is they call it insoluble because your body can't digest it. Corn being on this list, right? Um, and so that stuff's great and all, and every health food aisle is chock full of whole fiber sort of stuff. If you're trying to control your sugar, it doesn't really do very much. Soluble fiber, though, which is different. Like I said, that's your beans, your broccolis, your Brussels sprouts, your oatmeals, chickpeas, chia seeds, blah blah blah. All of that stuff you can digest, but your body has to take extra effort to digest it. And so what happens is it kind of gums the works up and it slows down. So any sugar you had in that meal or foods that will become sugar, right? And so, like, let's say I'm having white rice. Like, let's say in lunch, I threw in some white rice with my chicken, right? We did a rose con pollo, right? And we had a little chicken with our rice with our chicken. The rice is going to metabolize into sugar, but the squash and the broccoli are going to slow it all down. And because they're going to slow it all down, your sugar will never spike. And it's the spikiness. It's why A1C is the measure that doctors use. The spikiness is what does damage to your body. That's what hurts your liver, hurts your gums, hurts everything, is the sugar spikes. And so by eliminating the sugar spikes, you knock diabetes into remission in your pancreas because it's not being asked like what happens when you have a sugar spike, right? If you're a normal healthy person, you're not a diabetic, you throw down a big old bowl of white rice, right? Your sugar will spike, but your pancreas will then go into hyperdrive and create a ton of insulin. And when it does, it will knock out all that sugar. That's what insulin does, right? Well, in the case of somebody's type 2 diabetes, their pancreas isn't functioning as well. And so it can't absorb, it can't produce as much insulin, and you get these spikes. And those spikes end up being shown up in your A1C number, right?
Yeah.
In soluble fibers case, by eating all this stuff that's slowing down the digestion, you never get the spikes. And so even though your pancreas isn't working quite as well, you're giving it a very big break. And by giving it a break, you give it time to heal and to become more functional. And so over time, you basically get your pancreas function back. It's called insulin resistance. And then as you overcome it, getting less insulin resistant. And so at the end of the day, the soluble fiber is both giving your pancreas the time it needs to do the job it can do, and also less of a load so that you're able to heal up and get more function out of your pancreas. So over time, if you're some people are able to follow what I just described and they can go back to eating chocolate cake. I'm not going to do that, but also I'm not one of those people. I never got like I nuked my pancreas enough, I guess, that I'm not going to get that function back, but that's okay. Cause like I said, I never stress it out anymore.
Mhm.
by overloading with sugar that doesn't have soluble fiber associated. It's that kind of duality that allows me to never have these spikes, which is why my A1C will be anywhere between 5.6 in a bad quarter. I do it like once a quarter test, and 4.9 on a good quarter, but it's never within, it's always within normal range. Um, and I don't think that because soluble fiber is so easy, that that's a relatively straightforward proposition.
Mhm.
But that's why soluble fiber.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Do you I would imagine in the book, and the book you know what? Can you tell us about the book? We're kinda at that
Sure.
I don't wanna wrap up yet, Chris, but
No, no, no,
I
no. But
feel
I'll tell you a
like
little bit.
we've tiptoed around it. Tell us what the book is all about.
Yeah. So a buddy of mine, um, about a year and a half ago, had a similar problem. His A1C went up to 13, I think, 13.2 or something
Oh
like that.
my.
And they want to put him in a hospital.
Mhm.
I mean, because 13.2, that's pretty intense, man. I mean, that's like, you know, you're waiting to keel over sort of stuff. And Tim was like, "What did you do?" Because they want to stick me in a hospital and pump me full of insulin. And I was
Mhm.
like, okay. So I sat down and I started writing it out for him in a text, and I couldn't do that because it was more complicated. So I wrote it in an email, and then that email just didn't seem to really cover the territory. So I ended up writing a book, mostly because in the process of talking to people, I realized that there were a lot of people who didn't like what primary care doctors, who I don't blame for saying what they say, right? Most primary care docs, they're aware of some of the research that tells their patients if they make these lifestyle changes, this will go away. But if you're a primary care doctor in America, you get 15 minutes a patient if you're lucky, you know, and it's usually more like 5. And most people, it would take too much education for them to figure it out. I wanted to give them a book. They'd be like, "All right, here you go, kid. You don't want the drugs? Read this book, do this stuff, and you're there."
Yeah.
That's kind of what I was going for because I felt like I needed to pay it forward to all the people who did the research that saved my life, honestly. I mean, I have a chapter in my book called "Studies I Bet My Life On," because I did. Uh, I was I was not going in a good direction. I mean, it's now 8 years later, and I wouldn't be nearly as healthy as I am right now if I had not made such a left turn in my life. And I don't think most people feel that's possible, and
Mhm.
their doctors tell them it's not possible because it's hard.
Yeah.
But then I'm like, well, but there is a way you can do it. So that's why I wrote the book, is I felt it was important that people have some counter information, you know, because in the United States, there's a lot of money being made selling people drugs for diabetes. I mean, Dexcoms are like $250 a pop every 10 days. I mean, come on, like there's
Yeah.
a lot of money to be made doing
Yeah.
this. And it's crippling when you look at like how much it can cost you to be a diabetic in this country.
Yeah.
And just changing your food will do it for most people. So,
Yeah.
you know, so that's where I was like, well, then maybe I should do that and let people know that there's other ways to do it.
Yeah. No, I love it. So the book is
Beating
Beating
Diabetes.
Diabetes.
And it's
Christopher Reade.
beatingdiabetes.us is the website,
All right,
which
cool.
has all the links and all that kind of jazz.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. So, could you go back? I want to rewind just a little bit back
Sure.
to losing 10% of your body weight. So you
Hmm.
did that in
Under
less than
6 months.
6 months. So
So I was 197. So
yeah,
I was overweight, but I wasn't. Like I said, I played volleyball, and I played 3 days a week then. I play 3 days a week now.
okay,
It's a lot easier to get off the ground when you're 174 than it is when
yeah.
you're 197.
So I'm asking because I know listeners will be like, all right, tell me what you did there. Like what outside of
Simply
adjusting
changing
the
your diet will
changing
do
the
it
nutrition.
all by
Outside of
yourself. That's it.
yeah,
That's really it. Because if you're, let me just put it this way. So let's say we go to eat some sushi, right? And sushi, I love sushi. And sushi rolls are surrounded by white rice. And white rice is basically sugar. Um, so I usually, in fact, always order myself, just for me, a bowl of edamame, right? Soybeans. Soybeans are a great soluble fiber source. If you throw down an entire bowl of edamame before you eat your sushi, let me tell you what you're not going to do. Order another roll because you'll feel full, because you will be full.
Mm-hmm.
And so that feeling of fullness that soluble fiber gives you, basically, the weight loss was a nice side effect, right? But that's not what I was trying to do. I was trying to control my sugar.
Gotcha.
And eating that much soluble fiber, so I did a podcast about 2 weeks ago, and the host asked me a great question. He said, "So how much soluble fiber a day you think you throw down?"
On my list now. Yeah.
Yeah,
Give me
and
the
and I was
grams,
counting it
baby.
up,
What do you got?
and I was like, probably 12 to 15 grams a day, somewhere in that neighborhood.
Yeah.
Which is not it's a lot. I mean, let me tell you, it's a lot, but it isn't like so much that you feel like you're like throwing
That's all
beans
you're
down
doing.
every
Yeah.
2 seconds,
Yeah.
right? That's that's a oatmeal in the morning, what I just had broccoli and the spaghetti squash at lunch, and maybe some beans or something with dinner. I mean, it's not like all I eat is soluble fiber, right? I mean, it's
Yeah.
not like that. But that's enough to counteract the sugar, because the other thing
Yeah.
I do, and this is in my book too, it's I think one of the more important things that I do that's practical in it. I show people labels. And if you're trying to control your sugar, there's really only 2 lines or 3 lines in a food label you gotta look at in the grocery store. It takes no time at all. And those lines are the amount of, sometimes they'll say dietary fiber, sometimes they'll say soluble fiber, basically soluble fiber and added sugar. If you make sure that the foods that you have as much or more soluble fiber than they do added sugar, odds are extremely high you're gonna be fine.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the basics of it. And so that lets me, because again, I'm lazy and a normal dude. So I can't be sitting here doing a lot of planning. I'm walking to the grocery store and I'm just walking out with whatever I need to walk out with.
Mm-hmm.
And so keeping that super, super simple. Um, and like I said, if you think about what I just said, there's one part that I will say is not backed by any science, and I would love for someone to do the science on it, which is I'm making the equivalency of a gram of soluble fiber to a gram of sugar. I don't know that that's accurate, but like I said, I'm a simple dude. I got to keep
Makes
it
sense.
easy,
Makes sense in your
a-
head. Yeah.
and I would love to know if that's true or not. That's worked for me for 8 years, but I don't know if that's exactly the right measure. It probably isn't. It's probably some number on the other side of them, but that keeps it easy for me, and it makes it something that I can do when I go to the store.
Sure. Yeah. Well, and I feel like sugar's a lot easier to come by than the fiber. So
Oh yeah, it
if you're
sure
getting
is.
something that has equal parts, you're in a good package there.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
one of the things I do, like I said, I tackle like the health food aisle, because a lot
Yeah.
of people, they'll do stuff like they'll walk down the health foods aisle and they'll be like, okay, I'm trying to control my sugar. I should walk down the health foods aisle. And honestly, the health foods aisle just as bad as every other aisle,
Right.
in some cases worse. And learning how to read those labels really makes a big difference.
Mm-hmm.
So like the cereal I have pretty much every day,
Yeah.
um, the one safe cereal in the aisle is Cheerios, not Honey Nut Cheerios,
Okay.
straight up old school Cheerios. But it's one of the ones that's balanced.
Yeah.
Um, and so, but it's stuff like that. You look at like health food cereals, a lot of them are not healthy from a sugar standpoint. They may
Right.
be
Right.
great for gut health and stuff.
Yeah. Like your pancreas is like, oh, this is organic sugar. We don't need as yeah.
Right.
It,
But you also get into like stuff, and I talk about this a lot. So like orange juice is terrible for you, but oranges are great. And it's because an orange, like most natural foods, if you peel the orange and you eat the whole thing,
yeah.
it'll balance itself out. And you see study after study, people talking about that. Whole foods tend to be balanced.
Isn't
Um,
that something? Yeah.
yeah, it is magical. But then the thing you haven't asked about, which I always like to talk about, I think it's super important, is how
Yeah.
do you make
Hit it.
things stick?
Yeah. I
How
want.
do I do this for 8
Yes.
years,
Absolutely.
right?
Yep.
So, I don't know if you're familiar with the term habit stacking.
Absolutely. Talk about it.
Yeah,
You got it. Yeah.
absolutely. Habit stacking is my friend. I use it every day, all day. And so habit stacking, for those who haven't heard of this, it's basically pairing a thing that you want to do, an aspirational thing, with a thing that you're going to do. And so it's pairing, like I was just saying earlier, it's I make the habit. If I'm gonna order sushi, I'm ordering the edamame and I'm eating the edamame first and then the sushi, right? That little habit. I want the sushi. I like edamame, but it's the habit that I've paired with this
Yeah.
so that I'm able to actually keep that balance. And by stacking all these habits next to each other so that they self-reinforce my whole way of living, it becomes a way of living and I stop thinking about it so much,
Mhm.
you know?
Yeah. Have you found I wanted to ask about order of foods. Like if the fiber's on the
It's
plate,
gotta be in
is
the
it
beginning.
it's gotta be
Yeah.
early. Yeah.
Yeah, and I actually have considered adding a whole chapter about this in, like, a second edition or something, because I didn't realize how much research was on it was something I was doing, that I was doing right, but I didn't realize why it was right until, I read there's a just in the last year or 2, there's been a couple of really big studies on food order and the effects on blood sugar.
Mhm.
And, like I said, I happen to have prescribed to do it that way. I just didn't know why. It made sense to me. Um, but yeah, it's definitely food order matters.
Sure.
And it's funny if you look at like a lot of cultures that are reputed, are famous for their healthiness, you'll see a lot of these same things are in those cultures. The order of foods and the focus on whole foods and all of that kind of stuff is very common in Mediterranean diet. It's common in Japan. It's common in like all the places. What do they call them? Like blue something or
Blue
others.
zones. Yeah.
Yeah, blue
Yeah, yeah.
zones. They all seem to have that in common with each other, even though the cuisines may be very different. The other thing I noticed, and I included in the book, even though it had just come out, is the discussion of the small amount of exercise about a year ago, that as little as 5 minutes of light exercise, like walking after a meal, will knock your blood sugar down by up to 25%. Right? Just that stupid little thing. So habit stack wise,
Right.
me, I have 2 dogs. I take a dog, not both, because walking both at the same time is kind of annoying. Uh, I take a dog for a walk after dinner every night, which it does great things to your blood sugar, costs nothing. I gotta walk the dog anyway.
Right.
So it's a thing I'm going to have to do tonight,
Yeah.
and by putting it right next to the meal, I give myself this little bit but, if you're Italian, you're like, "Well, of course, after you have a meal, you should go walking," right? That's the Italian
You
thing.
do. Yeah.
And but they're right, they weren't necessarily thinking about they were, like, into digestion and stuff, but it happens to work really well for blood sugar.
Yeah.
So I've tried to do a lot of these extraneous things that are just little helps, little boosts here and there that,
Yes.
just calming yourself down, getting a full night's sleep. All of these things help you control your blood sugar, help you be healthier.
Oh man. Awesome. Man. Chris Reed, thanks so much. Thanks for your work. Thanks for the book, and thank you for being here. So the book is once
Beating
again
diabetes.
Beating Diabetes. Beatingdiabetes.us
Correct.
is the site. Check
And
it
that's got
out.
links for Instagram and LinkedIn and Facebook and all that stuff.
Awesome. Yeah, we got to connect up. I can get you on my feed. So cool. Thanks,
Absolutely.
Chris Reed. Thanks again so much for being.
Thanks so much for having me, Nate. I really appreciate it. It's been fun.
All right. I want to thank Chris so much for being here on the show with us. Get over and grab that book if diabetes is something that is on the radar for you or a family member. Beating Diabetes. Go grab it, make it happen. And for all of us, the key takeaway, I mean, it was so clear, right? And I love the honesty and how specific Chris was about sharing that with us. Soluble fiber. How's it going for you? How's it going in your life? You know, it is not a it's not a secret. It's not the first time probably you heard that fiber is good for you, but it might be the first time that you saw it through this particular lens as something that can make that big of a difference to your body, to your pancreas, to the person you are on the inside by having enough fiber in your diet. So, a little action step for you. And I know we've had this action step before on the show. If you've been around here for a little bit, pay attention to how much fiber you're getting in your diet. Take a look. One of the best ways to do it is just start looking at labels, start doing some Googling on food serving sizes. And hey, here's what I'm eating. How much fiber do I have in it? Take a look. Get until you know you don't know. So I encourage you, just become aware of how much you are having. And if we need to turn the dial up a little bit to meet that number that Chris is encouraging us to meet, and it's lower than a lot of nutritionists would tell you should be eating. If we need to dial it up a little bit, well, then dial it up a little bit. It is so worth it. We're talking about the quality of our life, the length of our life, everything, just by getting more fiber down the hatch. And of course, one of the best ways that you can do that is just eating as many whole foods as you possibly can, with an emphasis on things that are coming from the produce department. You probably knew that already, but man, I love me some broccoli. And it's not because, oh, the taste is just so amazing. It's just because I know how good it is for me. And because I know that it's so good for me, I've kind of gotten a little bit of a reputation of being a guy who likes broccoli. I do. I just like it because for me, it tastes good enough to give me all those great nutrients that I know that they're going to help my body. So, anyways, that's just me. What I encourage you to do, become aware. How much dietary fiber is going down the hatch? What can I do to dial it up just a little bit? It's going to make a big difference for you. Again, the book, Beating Diabetes, get it into your hands. If you're someone that you already know, hey, you've heard that word, you've heard high blood sugar, you've heard that maybe from a doctor. Take action, take control. You can imitate Chris and take action. The action you can take right now today, go grab the book. Get somebody in your corner like Chris as an author who can help support you in getting where you want to be, to a healthier version of yourself. Hey, thanks so much for listening to the show. I love having another interview episode here after kind of a long break from it. So I absolutely love the solo episodes. Thank you for your support. Those are the result of some feedback that I have gotten from you as a listener. So thank you so much. And I'm going to continue to create those solo episodes as well as these interview episodes. So stick around here with the Begin Within Health Show. Thanks again so much for being here with me. Until I talk to you again soon, keep taking good care of yourself.